Today is a step-by-step beginner yoga class. Hello and welcome to episode 271 of Namaste Yoga. I am Dr. Melissa West and thank you so much for joining us today for this beginner step-by-step yoga class. I am going to begin with a testimonial for you, but first of all, I wanted to let you know you will need some props today. I want to thank Dusky Leaf for supplying me with the props for my class. I think today you just need a folded blanket and let me just look back at my notes what you need. And yoga blocks, maybe a chair depending on if you have any knee issues, and a folded blanket if you have any knee issues. A wall is always good for balance too. Also, thank you to Squeeze Yoga Clothing for my clothes. Today I'm wearing a teal bamboo top with the flying heart design and short capri gray leggings with the triple goddess design on the legs. So today I have a testimonial from one of my favorite members on YouTube, Khalid Al-Bidor. He is a beautiful poet from Dubai, and so I was really touched when I saw his comment on YouTube. It's been a while since I heard from him, and so I wanted to share his comment. If you haven't read any of his poetry, I would highly recommend that you go and search it out. I've read some of his poetry here on the show before, and he's just a really beautiful person, and I definitely, as I say, check his poetry out. I'm going to spell his name, or actually, Tim, can you put it on the screen after? But I'll spell it out. It's Khalid Al-Bidor, Albudoor, and he's from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So he said, "Thank you, Melissa. This was from the beginner class on balance. And he said, "Thank you, Melissa. You made me more calm and focused this morning with this balancing class. You're such a great and wonderful teacher. And so thank you very much. And I have mutual respect for you as a poet. You're such, I'm reading that line again. I'm rushing to finish many things these days, and this class was just perfect. The new thing I learned today is eye yoga. Shalom, or peace be with you, as we say in Arabic. All the best, Khalid Al-Bidor." So thank you so much for leaving your comments on YouTube or Facebook, on our membership site, on my website. I love hearing from you, and we do respond to all of your comments, and it's so great to hear about your yoga practice. And so please do leave your comments on iTunes, Facebook, YouTube, membership site, and my website. We love hearing from you. So let's go over what to expect in today's class. Because it is a beginner's class, I will give you a preview of the whole class so you know what to expect. And we do this kind of in fast forward first so you can see everything, and then we'll go back and do the whole class nice and slow, step by step. Okay, so we will begin with a guided relaxation. So you'll start lying on your back, and I will give lots of modifications and instructions as we go through. And then from there, we're going to do some windshield wiper legs. And we'll come up onto all fours and do some cat pose. And I'll give modifications for wrists here and knees. And after cat pose, we're going to do lunge pose. And we'll do a twist in lunge pose. And actually also from cat pose, we're going to do some thread the needle. And I'll give some modifications there for next. And after lunge pose, we are going to sit to receive the teachings. So I'll give some modifications for sitting in a chair if this isn't a comfortable position for you. And then we will come up to standing. In standing, we are going to do the short stance warrior 2 pose, Virabhadrasana 2. And these, I trained with Esther Myers, who comes from the Bondescara Valley lineage. So this is a different style, warrior 2, really excellent style. You just take a step forward and then your arms come up and you rotate from your thoracic spine. So it's a different style, warrior 2. And we're going to do this as a vinyasa as well, so moving. And we're going to do a wide-legged standing forward fold also, so I will be giving some modifications here as well. After that, we will be doing Sphinx pose. So that's here. And then after Sphinx pose, we're going to be doing easy twist, and I will be giving modifications here as well for people who have knee issues and can't sit cross-legged. And then we're going to do tortoise pose. This one. And then we will finish with Savasana, corpse pose. So this is actually where you're going to be starting. And let's begin here. You can lie down on your back. Contraindications here are if you have any low back issues, you'll want to have your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Press into your feet, lengthen out through your tailbone and lower your pelvis down again. And then if you do have low back issues, keep your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling and tuck your shoulder blades underneath you to widen your shoulders and let your shoulders rest towards the floor more. If you are pregnant past the first trimester, then I would recommend that you start lying on your side. And if you don't have any of those issues, then you can lie. Sorry, I'm just getting over a little cold here. So I've got some phlegm in my throat still. If you don't have any of those issues, then you can lie on your back with your legs out too. And if you have a bolster, you could always put a bolster underneath your legs. So you stay resting here on your back, and we'll do a guided relaxation here to begin to center you and bring you from the being pulled in every direction in your day-to-day life and that kind of reactionary focus of your day-to-day life to responding to the needs of your body and being focused on one thing at a time. And in this class, particularly taking one step at a time. So take a deep breath in through your nose and let it fall out of your mouth. And take as many breaths like that as you need to arrive here now. And then return to breathing normally, so in and out through your nose. And let your attention rest on your breathing in and out through your nose while you stay lying on your back. And I will sit up to lead you through this guided relaxation. After you focus on your breathing in and out through your nose, let your attention go to your spine, and particularly the part of your spine in your upper back that is connecting with the ground right now. And each time you breathe out, let this part of your spine sink into the ground a little bit more. So feel your thoracic spine, that's the part of your spine that is connected to your rib cage, sink and drop into the ground. Just feel that part of your spine connected to the ground. Today we are talking about doing things step by step. And in the age of digital media, there can be a desire to skip the stage of beginner and go right to the end of the path to mastery. And in our image-rich culture, it can be challenged to occupy. It can be really challenged to occupy the space of the beginner and take things step by step, because we're surrounded by images of mastery and perfection. So to walk in a gradual way on our path seems counterintuitive in an environment where images of perfection confront us at every corner. In reality, in real life, it's not realistic to compare your beginner yoga practice or even your everyday life to somebody else's highlight reel. So, for example, when we take pictures for even Namaste Yoga, we take several of them and choose which ones we're going to put up online. So even something as simple as, we try to choose more real representations, but we also choose not to put pictures online where my eyes are half closed and I look really dopey. So that's what I mean about my highlight reel. I usually look happy and alert. We choose not to put pictures up where I look stoned because the camera caught me where my eyes are half shut. So that's where it's not very realistic to compare your beginner yoga practice or your everyday life to somebody else's highlight reel. Or even something as simple as, for example, we're filming today inside, even though yesterday would have been a way better day for filming outside. It was a beautiful, warm day. But you're getting my highlight reel today because I'm in much better physical condition today than I was yesterday. Yesterday, I was exhausted. I suffer from migraines, so I was having I was experiencing migraine pain yesterday, and I was exhausted yesterday because the day before I had done too much. I had climbed Mount Finlayson, and I had done a lot of filming in the morning, so I had done too much. But you only saw the highlight reel. You only saw, if you're a member, you only saw that I posted new content on the membership site, and you saw beautiful pictures of me going up on Mount Finlayson. You didn't see photos of me in bed yesterday recuperating. Okay, so that's what I mean. You cannot compare your everyday life or your beginner yoga practice to somebody else's highlight reel. Remember that somebody else's artistically created social media photos and videos were painstakingly created step-by-step laborious practices. So I remind myself of this when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I look at beautiful pictures of layered smoothies with little banana heart-shaped bananas on the outside of their glasses, right? How does somebody get those heart-shaped bananas to stick to the outside of the glass? These are created by food photographers with probably crazy glue, right? There's no other way humanly possible that banana would stay on the outside of the glass. So let's think about this. Do you expect to skip a bunch of steps and be frustrated when you cannot jump to an artistically created endpoint. In our instamatic culture, it is important to remember that practices like yoga are actual practices, and they take time to master, a lifetime. So today we will focus on the progressive practice of yoga. We will spend time, number one, preparing for the pose. Number two, creating a space to experience your pose. And number three, we will honor the time spent coming out of the pose. This step-by-step experience of your yoga practice will honor your experience of a beginner or beginner's mind. I feel like this class could go either way. It could be a beginner class or it could be an advanced class. If you are already practicing yoga, you can come to this as an advanced practitioner with beginner's mind. So begin to set your intention of what it is that you want to receive from this class. You might want to spend more time creating space to experience your pose. You might want to spend more time preparing for your yoga pose. You might want to spend more time focusing on coming out of the pose. So what step do you want to spend? Maybe you want to create intention out of one of those steps of the process that we're going to be focusing on today. Or maybe something else completely. Maybe something struck you about my introduction to this class and the step-by-step process. So what is it you're trying to create, sustain, release, or rebirth in your life? And set your intention. And once you've formed your intention, you can stay lying on your back. And if you already have your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, then keep your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. If not, bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. Okay, and we're going to do some windshield wiper knees. So if you have SI joint dysfunction, then you need to make sure you're supporting your knee sways with proper pelvic floor support and navel support. So Mula Bandh, Uddiyana Bandh. So the way you do that is you draw up through your pelvic floor, draw your pelvic floor up by one way to think about that is to draw your pubic bone and tailbone closer together and draw the fleshy parts between your pubic bone and tailbone up and inside you. And then draw your navel back towards your spine so that you're engaging your abdominals here, and that will help to support your SI joints here. Then take your arms out to the side here, and then you're going to sway your knees from side to side here. And breathe while you do this. And then come back to the center, and you're going to roll to your side and come up onto all fours for cat pose, Marjariyasana. And before we do this, we'll warm up your wrists a little bit because you want to be careful of your wrists when your wrists are in a flexed position, especially when you start. And then I'm going to give you a modification for your wrists. If you have any issues with your knees in this one, you could put a folded blanket underneath your knees, or you could double up your mat underneath your knees here. And then for your wrists, you could always roll up your mat here too as well. And put the heels of your hands on the top of your mat and your fingertips reaching off. And then what that does is it straightens out your wrists and makes it less of a flexion, which can be helpful for those people with wrist issues. And then what you can do is turn your elbow creases so they face each other, and then your shoulder girdle will be stronger as well. And then what you're going to do is breathe out and reach your spine between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. And then breathe in and reach your spine at your heart center down towards the ground. So breathe out and round. Draw your head and tailbone closer to each other. And then breathe in and arch. Now, if you have any neck issues, you want to just keep your head in line with your body and not overly extend and move your neck around a lot. So focus on moving more from the space between your shoulder blades. So moving that space between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling, and then moving that space from your breastbone down towards the floor. And that would be better if you have any neck injuries. Breathe out as you move the space between your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. Breathe in as you move your breastbone down towards the floor. Okay, and then you can uncurl your mat from your wrist modification. And we're going to rotate your spine now for thread the needle. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to inhale, you're going to reach your left arm up to the side, and you're going to take your left hand, you're going to place it between your right wrist and your right knee. So inhale, there's the preparation. And then you're going to lower down and lower your left shoulder down to the ground and tuck your chin. And stay long through the back of your neck, lower your shoulder to the ground. And notice what it feels like to be in the twist in this posture. Now, if you have any neck and shoulder issues, I'm going to recommend that you treat this pose more as a vinyasa. So you inhale here and you exhale, rotate, and you don't come all the way to the ground. So it's not weight bearing for you. So that's your modification. So notice what it's like to experience being in the pose. What does it feel like to have your spine rotated? And now be aware of your experience of coming out of this pose. So stay with the physical experience of coming out of this pose now. And notice what it feels like in your body to come out of this pose. And now you've been in this pose on one side. So prepare your body to come into the pose on the other side. Notice what it feels like mentally to prepare your body to think about what it's going to be like to be in it on the other side. So you're going to inhale, open up your right side, and you're going to know if you're going to choose to be in this in a moving way, whether you're going to come all the way down, depending on your shoulders or your neck, or whether you're going to move through it. So tuck your chin so the back of your neck is long, your shoulder comes to the ground. And once you're in the pose, you're paying attention to what it feels like to have your spine rotated. What does it feel like to breathe in this pose? Notice how your body is responding mentally and emotionally to this pose. And then before you come out of the pose, notice your intention to come out of the pose and be with the sensations of coming out of the pose in your physical body. So stay present to that experience of coming out of the pose. And then walk your hands back to your knees. And I'm going to recommend that you keep that folded mat underneath your knees if you have any knee issues as we prepare to come into the next pose, which is lunge pose, Anjaneyasana. And we're going to start by preparing ourselves by thinking about the pose we're coming into. So the pose we're coming into is to walk 1 foot forward and lean into the lunge pose, which is going to open up the front of your hips. So this is the preparation, thinking about what's happening. Apparently this pose, the contraindications are any heart issues in this pose. So if you have any heart issues, you're supposed to sit this one out. I'm not really sure why that is the case, but that is the case. So you're going to be stepping your left foot through. So just imagine yourself doing that. Imagine the sense of opening up through the right hip. And when you feel ready, you're going to take that step through. Take your hands on either side of your left foot. Feel the back of your right shin connecting to the ground. Spread your left toes. Feel the whole front of your left foot on the ground. Feel the opening up of your front of your right hip. And when you feel that really solid connection to the ground through your left foot and your right shin, press into your left foot and come upright. And when you feel balanced, if you don't feel balanced, you can use a wall or a chair here. But when you feel balanced, you're going to rotate towards your left leg. So 2 options here. One is you can take your right hand to the outside of your left knee, and this is a great option because you're coming into the twist. The other option is to take your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. So again, imagine it happening. So prepare for it. And then bring your palms together. And rotate. And breathe and experience being in the twist. Notice what it feels like in that part of your spine that you experienced at the beginning of the class, lying on your back, feeling that part of your spine connected to the ground. That part of your spine that is connected to your rib cage is called your thoracic spine. Now prepare yourself to come out of the pose and be with the physical experience of coming out of the pose as well. So find a way to come out of the pose, be present with the experience of coming out of the pose. And then we're going to prepare to do the other side. So you've been with that whole experience of the pose on the one side. So take a moment here, maybe even close your eyes. You might want to hold on to the wall if you're going to close your eyes. And visualize doing the pose on the other side, the whole thing. Stepping your right foot through. Either taking your hand to the outside for the twist. Even visualize, imagine how that feels in your body. Or if you do the elbow, feel the difference. Notice what this side might feel like. So preparing for the pose in your body. And then take a deep breath in. When you feel ready, step your right foot through. Take your hands on either side of your foot. Feel the whole bottom of your right foot and then the back of your left shin. Lift and spread your toes. When you feel that real connection to the ground between your left shin and the bottom of your right foot, sink your right foot into the ground and come upright. Feel the opening up in the front of your left hip. And then start to imagine the twist. And you have 2 choices here. You can either take your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Or Or you can imagine yourself taking your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. And neither is better or best, choosing which one is right for you and your body today. With your palms together. So moving slowly, step by step, and noticing how that feels in your body. Noticing how it feels to be with the experience of this in your body. Mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, how it feels with your breath. Now you're going to prepare to come out of the pose. So be with your experience of coming out of the pose through the whole experience in your body. Okay, and from here we're going to make our way up to standing. Okay, so you can straighten out your mat because you're coming to standing now. And we're going to be doing those short stance warrior 2 poses. So the way that they work is the philosophy behind them is that everything comes from standing. So you take the distance of the standing postures is that everything comes from the distance that you would take if you were taking a step, a walking step. So I can really buy into that. I like that philosophy a lot because that is the kind of distance that you would normally take with your legs. And it avoids a lot of injuries actually. There are value to both systems. I like both systems and I use both systems. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take a step forward as if you're going to take a step. And with Warrior 2, there are some contraindications because there's a rotation in the torso, and actually the way that Vonda Scaravelli and Esther Myers teach it, the rotation actually comes through your thoracic spine, which is beautiful because this part of the spine is less mobile. But even though there's that rotation there, it's going to happen down here as well. So if you're experiencing diarrhea, then you don't want to do this because that's going to encourage more of that diarrhea. So that's one contraindication. The other contraindication is high blood pressure because of the twist, and also neck problems. Now that's more of an issue when you're doing the long stance ones. Well, even this one, because you have to turn your head. So if you have neck problems, you just would keep your head facing in a more neutral direction, okay? So always take care of your own body. So we took a step forward with your left foot, and then what you're going to do is inhale and bring your left arm up and forward and your right arm back, and then you turn your turn your head to look over your left fingertips. And then what I thought we would do is just vinyasa this a little bit so that you swing your angel arms so that your left arm comes in front, exhale, lower, inhale, right arm comes in front. And your arms are going to come parallel to the ground. Breathe out, lower, breathe in, lift. And even your back arm will. So when my left arm goes to the back, it doesn't go very high because my frozen shoulder is thawing. So notice when my right arm goes to the back, it goes all the way up. Yeah. But I have good range of motion at the front. So Just if you're dealing with a shoulder injury too, just you do what you can. So notice what it feels like to be in this experience of moving through your shoulder joints and moving through this fluidity of rotation in your thoracic spine. And there is also some rotation happening through your pelvis and your torso as well. Okay, so we're going to come out of this pose. So with intention, notice your experience of coming out of this pose. Step back to Tadasana, standing. Okay, and we're going to do this pose on the other side. So start to just notice your intention of what it's going to be like to come into this pose. Prepare what it's like to prepare. Notice what's happening mentally, emotionally as you think about doing this pose on the other side. So step forward as though you were going to take a step. That's why I chose this version of the posture, because this class is like about step by step. And so this version, the short stance, is you just take a step. So that's why I chose a short stance. So take a step with your right foot. You bend your front leg, your back leg is straight. And then you're going to inhale, bring your right arm up to parallel to the ground. Your left arm is going to come parallel to the ground too. So you're just going to imagine that my left arm is parallel to the ground. So there you go. And you look over top of your right fingertips. So be in that experience of being in the posture. So the big difference here in this short stance warrior 2 pose is that your pelvis is staying pointed towards the front of the mat, and then the movement is happening more in the thoracic spine. So in the long stance warrior 2 postures, your pelvis is turned towards the long edge of your mat. So just so you know that, should you try other warrior 2s in other classes. And then let's change this into a vinyasa so that we come into the revolved warrior 2, and your left arm comes forward, and then switch. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Breathe in, your arms come up. Breathe down, out, your arms come down. So vinyasa just means moving with breath. Okay, so last one here. Prepare yourself to release this posture from your body. Be with the experience of coming out of the pose. Notice what it's like to release the posture. Okay, great. And from here, we're going to do wide-legged standing forward fold. So you can't do this pose if you have low back issues, especially any disc issues, slip disc, herniated disc, bulging disc, all that. It's a no-go because it's straight leg forward fold. So take your legs wide. Inner edges of your feet are parallel. And this is the one where you're going to roll your pelvis over your leg bones. So just imagine that happening now and keeping your spine straight, your legs straight. So preparing to come into the pose, breathe in. And breathe out, roll your pelvis over your leg bones, flat back. And experience the posture here. Feel sensation in the backs of your legs. Drop the crown of your head towards the ground. Another contraindication for this pose that you might not want to do is if you have a headache or a head cold, stuffiness in your sinuses, it's not going to feel good either. So be with the experience of being in this posture now. Now think about your preparation for coming out of the pose. So support yourself in coming out of the pose. Draw that fleshy part of your pelvic floor, so the space between your pubic bone and tailbone, up and inside you. Draw your navel back towards your spine, and then you're going to come up the same way you went down by rolling your pelvis over your thigh bones. Flat back to come back up to standing. And then from here, we will come down to lying on your stomach. Okay, so we are going to do Sphinx pose from here. So obviously you can't do this pose if you're pregnant because you're not going to be able to lie on your belly here. Okay, also if you've had a recent abdominal surgery, this pose is not going to be good for you to be lying on your stomach. And any chronic injuries to your back, arms, or shoulders, this isn't going to be a great pose for you. But, if you're listening to your own body, you're going to be able to hear and know when these things don't feel good in your body and back off and not do these things. So let's start by lying on your stomach, and you'll be able to start with both your arms straight out in front of you. And this is a great pose to take the time to prepare to come into it. So to prepare, rock your pelvis from side to side so that there's no tension in your low back and your low back's nice and long. And this is a pose where it's really nice to create a lot of space in your low back by reaching your sit bones down towards your ankles, pressing the front of your pubic bone into the ground, and you'll feel the length that creates in your low back, which is great as you come into the back bend. And then from here, you're going to start to walk your elbows back underneath your shoulders until you come into the back bend here. Now here, especially for neck injuries, you want to keep the back of your neck long so that your head is over your rib cage and your ears are back over your shoulders. So let your head be in line with your back rather than doing the back bend from your neck. So by that I mean don't tip your chin and your head up towards the ceiling because that's a neck bend, not a back bend. Let your head be in line with the rest of your back. Notice what it feels like to be in this pose. So this pose is a great counter pose to your day-to-day life experience of being grounded over desks, over your steering wheel, over your cell phones, over your iPods, your iPads, your computers, sitting on couches where your spine is in a C curve. This brings your spine into a reverse C curve. So it's really good for your spine. It's just a great counterpose to day-to-day life. So you may notice that it feels uncomfortable because it's just a counterpose to your everyday position of your spine. But that's because it's building strength in places that you don't have strength where your muscles are weak, and it's opening up your muscles, your chest muscles, so the places where your muscles are short. So just notice what it feels like to be with those discomforts, if indeed they are uncomfortable for you. Okay, and then before you come out of the pose, prepare to come out of the pose. No, just set the intention to be with the experience of coming out of the pose. And then find a way to come out of the pose and stay present in your body throughout the experience of coming out of the pose. Lying on your belly to finish with your arms straight out in front of you. Take a deep breath there. And wiggle your pelvis from side to side. Okay, and now let's prepare for the experience of moving again. You're going to be coming up onto all fours, so be present with that experience as well. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up onto all fours, and then draw your knees back underneath you. You're going to sit back onto your heels, and you're going to bring your hands down by your feet and rest your forehead on the ground. So if it doesn't reach, you can always put a cushion underneath your forehead. And if this doesn't work for you, you can lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest. If you have knee issues, which is probably why you would be lying on your back, make sure you hold on behind your knees. So the alternative to this is to lie on your back with your knees to your chest. And make space for your belly too, whether you're doing child's pose, but you open your knees. That makes space for your belly. And if you're doing child's pose on your stomach, you can open your knees, lift and move your belly up and out of the way. And make space for your knees there. You can put your hands between your legs too. Or if there's not room, you can still have them outside. So notice what it feels like in your low back here. You're stretching out your low back here after your back bend. And now set the intention to be present with the experience of coming out of this posture. And come up to seated. So from here we're going to do a seated twist. And you're going to sit cross-legged, and I'm going to show an alternative for knees for this pose. I'll just show the posture first, and then I'll show the alternative. So maybe I'll show it one way with the seated twist, and then I'll show the alternative with the sitting in the chair. So the contraindications for this one is knee issues. It might be uncomfortable for you to sit with your knees here. A couple of options are to sit elevated on a folded blanket or a meditation cushion like this, as long as your knees are lower than your hips and your knees are resting on the ground. That's the main thing. So you could either fill the space with cushions or lift your hips enough so that your knees are resting on the ground. And then we're going to be twisting, so take a moment to prepare your body to imagine your spine rotating. So the image that I love for this is to imagine ascending through a spiral staircase starting from the bottom. You know those beautiful spiral staircases that go straight up in a room? You know, they don't kind of take up a lot of space, they just go straight up. like they have them in libraries, yeah. So it's kind of like that. Imagine ascending through your spine like that, starting at the base of your spine, rotating through your spine. Let's go to the left and take your right hand to the outside of your left thigh or knee, wherever you can reach, and take your right hand to the back of your spine. And here, let your neck be in line with your spine, especially if you have any neck issues. So you don't have to crank your neck around. You could, but we won't today, just to protect your neck. Notice what it feels like to be in this experience of the pose. The other contraindications that I'd say in this pose, again, diarrhea, because you're really cranking on your digestive system here. And high blood pressure, the twists are going to increase the pressure of your blood as well. So notice what it feels like through your spine, through your back, the backs of your shoulders, your breath. And then prepare to come out of the pose. Be with the experience of coming out of the pose in your body. And pause to take a moment to allow your spine to unwind in the center. And then I'm going to show you the option for doing this pose sitting in a chair if this position of cross-legged doesn't work for you in your body. Thank you. So you can always do this pose sitting in a chair. I have a whole class on my membership site on the chair, and every time I do something in a chair, it makes me want to do a whole other class on the chair. So you're going to sit in the chair, or you can sit on the ground still and do the other side, but you're going to, again, imagine that spiral staircase from the base of your spine, and just imagine climbing it so the rotation happens from the base of your spine. And then you take your left hand to the outside of your right knee, and your hand can either come to the back of the chair or the base of your spine. And let your head go in line with your spine. And then be with the experience of being in this twist. Notice how it feels in your back, around your torso, how your breath feels. And then set your attention to come out of the pose and to be with your physical experience of coming out of the pose, maybe even any, noticing any mental responses to coming out of the pose as well. Whether it's relief or whether you still want to stay in it, just notice those reactions. Be with the experience of coming out. Pause when you come back to center. Let your spine unravel. Trying to imagine what a spiral staircase would look like if it was unraveled. It would become a ladder, I guess. Okay, and then you're going to you could stay sitting in a chair for this final pose, but I'm going to show you some modifications sitting on the ground as well. So I'm going to put this chair off to the side. And we're going to do a forward fold to finish, where you place your legs in a diamond shape, so your heels are not right up against your groin. This is called Karmasana, tortoise pose. And see how your knees are probably going to be hanging out mid-air. So in order to support your SI joint so you don't get SI joint dysfunction, you want to fill this space. So if you have blocks, great. come in and fill the space. So see how my knees are higher than the block. I need to come in and put them right where the legs, where the block meets the legs. And if you don't have blocks, then fill it with cushions. And then you're going to lift up nice and tall. Now, if your hips and hamstrings are really tight, then your pelvis is going to roll back like this, and it's going to be difficult to roll forward here. If that's the case, then make sure you sit up on a folded blanket as well, so that it's easier for you to roll forward. And then you're going to inhale here, exhale, roll your pelvis over your hip bones with a long spine. Like the spine, it doesn't have to be necessarily exactly straight, but as long as it drapes forward rather than crunches forward. You can take your hands underneath your feet and rest forward. If you have a bolster, which since you're beginners, you probably won't have, you could rest your bolster here and rest on it. So maybe we'll just leave that out for now. So this one, you want to be careful if you have any strained lower back muscles and herniated discs. So notice what it's like to be in this pose. And then you're going to be present with the steps of coming out of this pose too. So you're going to be rolling your pelvis over your leg bones. So stay present with that action, keeping your spine long. So the action of the movement is coming from your pelvis to come up. And then you're going to rest back for Savasana. So put your props off to the side for this. And you're going to lie down on your back. So take your hands behind your knees and focus on this movement of coming down onto your back. And imagine doing it first. So roll back onto your pelvis. Slowly roll down onto your back. Tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. Check in with your low back. Press into your feet. Lengthen out through your tailbone. See if your low back, if you need your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. You could stay here. If you're pregnant, you need to lie on your side. If this feels fine and your low back feels fine, then you can lengthen your legs out. If you have a bolster or a rolled blanket, you can put that underneath your knees. That's a very nice way to finish. This is the most important part of the class because it allows you to receive your whole practice. It allows you to integrate everything that you've just done. You're going to stay here lying on your back to receive and integrate your step-by-step practice. And I'm going to sit up and share with you, I have 2 quotes for you today instead of a poem, on the importance of taking things step by step. So I liked both of these quotes equally, and I couldn't decide between between them, so I decided to include both of them. The first one is by Lao Tzu. He has lots of good quotes. Lao Tzu says, "Do difficult things while they are easy." Makes me think about doing dishes right after dinner rather than waiting till the morning. Do difficult things while they are easy, and do great things while they are small. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. That makes me think of Namaste Yoga. You know, great that we started with one episode and now we have many. We probably have 1,000 videos now between our membership site and our blogs. And so do difficult things while they are easy, and do great things while they are small. A journey of 1,000 miles must begin with 1,000 steps, with a single step. And then they become 1,000 steps. Lao Tzu. And then this one really struck me. I thought it was beautiful. And it's by Lyndon B. Johnson. Peace is a journey of 1,000 miles, and it must be taken one step at a time. Peace is a journey of 1,000 miles, and it must be taken one step at a time. So I think sometimes, I know for myself, when I look at some of the most inspirational leaders and teachers in my life, meditation teachers, maybe like Jack Kornfield or Sally Campton, and I see, or Thich Nhat Hanh, and I see how filled with peace they are. Their journey to peace, it started with one step, and it continues one step at a time every day on their meditation cushion. So I thought that was, they are so filled with peace, and yet that journey to peace is taken one step at a time through their practice every single day. So peace is a journey of 1,000 miles, and it must be taken one step at a time. It's not something where you just arrive. So rest back for as long as you wish, and I would encourage you, if you have more time, to press pause and take a longer Savasana now. And after you've pressed pause and taken 5 or 10 minutes in Savasana, then gradually deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side. And slowly make your way up to seated. So thank you so much for watching episode 271 of Namaste Yoga on step-by-step yoga. If you liked today's show, then please give it a thumbs up and like our show. And subscribe to our channel. I'm going to be giving a big giveaway when we get to 25,000 subscribers on my personal channel. And leave a comment too. Today's question in the comments is based on today's teachings on taking things step by step. What's one thing you're going to do in your life to maybe back up and do things a little bit more step by step in your life? Where's one area that you're going to take things more step by step? So if you did like today's show, we'd love for you to share it with a friend or a coworker or a family member, somebody that you feel like would benefit from it. We would love it if you shared with them. And also we have several other beginner classes, over 20 other beginner classes for you to enjoy and benefit from. We'll leave it in the show notes. And also we have just started a brand new section in our membership site that is for beginners as well, where we are doing one posture at a time, all the benefits, the contraindications, props, and every aspect you can imagine of a pose, where we're doing a library of poses. So it's going to be a great area for beginners in our membership site as well. So if you'd like to become a member of our membership site, where we have lots of value-added content, support for your personal practice through things like weekly challenges and so many things on our site to support your practice, and a community of like-minded yogis from around the world. We are interviewing our members now, where we have just like me interviews, and we're getting to know each and every member in our community now. It's just a really great place to deepen your yoga practice. So we'd love to have you as a member of our community. You can sign up here. So thank you so much for joining us for today's class. I'm sending you much love from a beautiful and a little bit rainy British Columbia today. That's why we're inside. It was threatening rain. I don't think it did actually rain. A little bit chilly for filming outside today. May your joy be as deep as our Pacific Ocean. May you be as strong as our beautiful mountains. And may you be as rooted as the trees in our forest. Om Shanti Namaste.
Melissa would love to hear your questions and thoughts. Please leave your comments below the video. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes and YouTube. Your reviews help us to share yoga and a yoga lifestyle with others around the world. If you have a question for Melissa, you can leave a voice message at melissawest.com, and Melissa may answer it in an upcoming blog.